Well, the Doug Rising Show, and I'm Doug Rice. Good Lord. Good morning. Doug Rice. That's me, folks. Good morning. 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 a.m. Are you looking at them? Oh, my goodness gracious. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump is mad. Oh, my goodness. I have never seen such a look. And boy, he looks shook. Doesn't he look shook? He does. All right, it's 5th of October, 2023. This is the Doug Rice Show, and welcome to me. Well, it's all falling apart, isn't it? It's all coming unglued. Oh, my goodness. The contempt they exude. It's amazing, folks, it is. It is amazing to watch these beings come unwound. It's like a deal coming unwound. I don't know if you've ever been in the sales industry, folks. I've lived making money for years. We got a term. When a deal unwinds, it's like the worst thing anybody can experience. You just watching all your value disseminate and disintegrate and just float away. And that's what they're doing today. Let me tell you, folks, as you tune in to me 7 a.m., let me tell you something. You need to know that the Civil War that began in this country in the 1800s over slavery, not over states' rights, that the Civil War started on the floor of the United States Senate. Right in the halls of government in this country, they had 3 congressmen come in, all Southerners, all hillbilly, slave-owning, oppressive, tyrant, powerful white males, 3 of them. They came in the floor of the United States Senate in the 1800s, just before the war started. This is the catalyst of the Civil War. 2 of them held off senators at bay, while another one beat a northern southerner half to death on the floor of the United States Senate. Check my math. And those were the first blows thrown. And as the 8 Republican holdout, right-wing white nationalist, neo-Nazi motherfuckers decided that they would control the fate of 197 other individuals, let me tell you, the looks that were given to these 8 individuals, it was reported that they had to adjourn for a week because there was a sense of impending violence about to happen on the floor. Now, I need you Negroes who hear my voice to understand what's happening, because you're in the middle of it. Some of you are making the grave mistake of not paying attention. And I will tell you, as they cascade into whatever warlike stance these creatures take against one another, the strong will overpower the weak. And all I'm watching the weak do is speak. I watch them everywhere talking about how horrible it's all going. I watch them on the news. I watch them all around this country, and they are terrified of the turn this country is taking, and take it shall. And before any of you know it, the likes of the rancid, putrid being that is Donald Trump will foment enough hatred and violent sentiment within these weakened creatures beneath a simmering sun that seemingly degrades them and disintegrates their goddamn common sense. all Negroes in this country are at peril. You are in danger. And I encourage every last one of you to open up your eyes and put your head on a swivel, because these vile creatures are about to get uncivil. Good morning. All right, 7:05. That's all I got this morning for the opening, of course. It's a fact, folks. You better listen. I don't know what you're doing with your life right now as a Negro in America, but if you're not looking for the fucking exits, I don't know what to tell you, because when it turns, folks, it's going to turn quickly. Do you understand what I'm telling you? When they change their goddamn minds about being civil white people, you will find out where the descendants of the Confederacy went. They can't wait to kill Negroes. I don't think you hear me. They can't wait to kill Negroes. Do you understand me? We are all waking up. We are intolerant of their bullshit. We don't give them quarter. We don't give them a chance. We don't listen to white splaining. They notice this. And it's part and parcel what's driving them insane. You know those kind of people. You know, they mad at somebody else, but they take it out on someone totally different. Too much of a coward to confront that which puts fear in their hearts. Instead, they turn on one another. And that's what we're watching. That's what we are witnessing, Negroes. And for some of you, you think this shit's a game. You see a few of us up in the rarefied air amongst these creatures, and you think all is well. Let me tell you, this is all about to go to hell. They see what's happening to us. They see we ain't on the back of the fucking bus no more. Some of us got some attitude we exude. They notice that. And so I advise Negroes, as you wake up every day in this disintegration of democracy, you take note that nothing will save these beings. They go full bore into their enslavement. We have an obligation at some point to let them know. All right, now on with the show. Yesterday we covered chapter 2 of The Lost Tribes, a Myth, by Alan H. Godbey. And let me tell you how you dovetail this, because from what I'm getting from this publication, The Lost Tribes is a myth. No such thing. We ain't lost. I don't feel lost. Do you feel lost? I don't feel lost. Chapter 1 and chapter 2, covered in this publication, 850 pages. We are on page 25. That just gives you an idea of how long this book is, and it covers the history quite well. It tells a story that needs to be told. And today we're going to watch chapter 3 unfold. So, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. I got to tell you, it's the news that's got me pumped up. I'm not playing. Let me tell you something, man. I'm watching Donald Trump and his anger that he exudes right in the face of negrosity. Let me tell you something. If he didn't like black people, he really don't like black people now. And before I get into this book, you better understand, this clown has 75 million redneck motherfuckers ready to show you how much he don't like black people. All right, let's get into it. I drift. My apologies. All right, here we go. Traditions of Palestinian origins. That is the third chapter in this publication. Now, we've gone over chapter 1, chapter 2. And I'll just review. Chapter 1 kind of laid a foundation that these beings thought they found the lost tribes nation all over the place. They found lost tribes here. They found lost tribes there. They found lost tribes north. They found lost tribes south. They found lost tribes everywhere. They just run in their mouth. They thought they were a part of the lost tribes. And what chapter 1 told me is the lost tribes in no way, shape, or form are lost. Now let's see. Here's why. The Creator has a set apart people, a group that he has chosen, C-H-O-S-E-N. That's the end of it. There is no transference of chosenness that simply glides through the populace. That don't work. Chosen is chosen, it stays where it is. That's it. And in this publication, the mention of Negroes is seemingly peppered throughout its writing. And he seems to be coming to the point, and I think I understand where he's going. But chapter 2 even expressed how, and through biblical knowledge, the Abrahamic stem from now, back then. And again, chapter 2 tells me there's no transference of speciality. There are no lost tribes. It is a myth. What there is bait and switch. We all look closely enough, we might find the lost tribes. Well, who knows, might be closer than you think. Here we go. Chapter 3, Traditions of Palestinian Origin. Remember, folks, they did not want Negroes to read. We should next recognize that we cannot accept any local tradition of Israelite ancestry without being compelled to accept the myth of lost 10 tribes. A vast deal of writing upon the subject has treated such Israelite traditions very cavalierly in order to avoid accepting the myth. The middle course is the true one. With regard to these many local traditions, we have also to remember the fact that every recurrent in the order of dependents grouping themselves about a successful adventurer, who may later be reported as the eponym ancestor of the clan. Now, the Israelite adventurer has penetrated many lands and often gained control of tribes or kingdoms. The Jewish kings of Yemen and medieval Abyssinia are examples. We can therefore accept the fact that an Afghan clan may be right in claiming some adventurous Israelite as its founder and its members in calling themselves Josephites, without concluding that all the clan or all Afghans are of Israelite descent. Conversely, the clear evidence that Afghans in general are not Israelites does not warrant or repudiating their claim of some adventurous Israelites as the original nucleus of some Afghan clan. As to such Israelite adventurers and leaders, omitting modern Europe, Timur had Judah of Germany as Shani Lamelech, second to the king. Genghis Khan had Solomon. Hadar Shah of Bukhara, a century ago, had a Jew grand vizier. Abarbanel was a chancellor of the Exchequer to Ferdinand and Isabella. Joseph and Daniel and Mordecai had been duplicated many times. Moses of Korine said that after the Battle of Babylon, the Armenian Arshad the Great conferred upon a brave Jew, Champa Pakrat, and his family the right of placing the crown on the heads of kings of Armenia. The family held a satrapy and was still considerable in Moses' day. Pakrat was a dignitary of the kingdom and governor of a province and prince of 12,000 men. Moses has been suspected of romancing for the purpose of putting his Armenian heroes in the line of Old Testament genealogies and official succession. But the fact that the Pakraduni did not maintain Jewish customs is not an inseparable difficulty. Jews often exchange their religion for noble rank. Read that again, folks. Jews often exchange their religion for noble rank. Interesting. And his Shampra Pakarad was probably a Judaized Armenian, not an exiled Israelite. Listen, this is pretty clear. The spread of Judaism through either observance, mimicry, copying, encouragement, application, marriage, intermixing, all of this did not somehow disseminate the bloodline of the chosen. It simply spread that form of worship, which in fact was the original purpose of Abram and God's choosing. And so when we find Judaistic practices spread throughout the globe, suddenly they want to claim 10 tribes here, 10 tribes here. No, this is a most insipid and vile kind of diffusion of Negroes. In my estimation, I think that's where this goes. Next! Sorry, I drift. This possibility puts before us a fact that must be kept in mind in all examinations of lost tribe traditions. Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike are fond of giving converts a new name from their stock of tradition favored names. That's powerful, folks. You need to hear that. An Indian chief, red dog or running wolf or gray eagle, if Judaized, might be known as Benjamin or Manasseh or Naphtali. His children may be recorded as descendants of such popular ancient eponyms or eponyms. We find old Hebrew names widely distributed, attached to persons and places. They are worthless as evidence of Israelite ancestry. But they urge us to inquire what sort of Israelite influence or tradition has been at work in any given locality. Again, we'll take a quick pause. Utah. They discovered artifacts in Utah, kept it in a Utah museum. Unidentifiable were the writings of all the findings within this compilation of artifacts until one day a rabbi happened to come to this place in Utah and observe these artifacts, these clay artifacts, and he recognized that this was Jewish writing. And from that, some of us, along with other bits of information that come our way regarding the spread of Judaistic belief, also try to claim that we weren't brought here by ships, that there were Jews here. Well, looky here. Ain't this something? Perhaps this publication might clear up a few things. Let's continue. American Christianity has a host of Salems and Jerichos and Jordans and Canaans that never knew the presence of a son of Israel. A glance at the claims of Israelite ancestry based upon mere Hebrew names will not convince anyone of a tremendous and widespread influence of the ancient Israelites, but the facts will not be acknowledged as evidence of genealogical descent from Israelites. So, in essence, this guy kind of points in both directions, and I understand why. Let's find the connection. The neglected writings of Dr. Joseph Wolf, the Christianized Polish Jew, are particularly interesting because he fervently believed in the lost tribes and in the immediate second coming of Christ. And his missionary labors in the Orient nearly a century ago were for the specific purpose of finding and converting his lost kinsmen. He found numerous cases of bands of persecuted Jews taking refuge with wild, semi-savage peoples in Persia and eastward, and being protected by them. In some cases, protected in time came to be the dominant element in the partnership. And sometimes little remained, save a tradition of Israelite origin. The modern Jews of Kava dwell with and intermarry with the Uzbek Tartars, he reported. He knew that the Uzbeks are relatively Parvinis, that they came southward to the region of the Oxus in 1498 and established their nomad capital at Organch in Khiva, the ancient Chorasmia. But Wolf was not minutely informed concerning the earlier history of this region and did not know that his Jews of Khiva were themselves largely the descendants of Tartars who had been Judaized more than 1,000 years before. Naturally, when the Jews of modern Bukhara, when much oppressed, take refuge with the desert nomads at Maur, Sarax, Akal, and with the Hazara of Afghanistan, an ancient Jewish school survived at Mor or Merv. So let's examine again, folks. Again, a people of special possession, set apart, God's chosen by blood, not by instruction, not by taking on the personalities and traits of Jews. Nothing takes away from chosen. And that's what I get from this particular PDF. The lost tribes, a myth. We're not lost. Look in the mirror. You just found yourself. Let's continue. I mean, that's what I'm getting from it. I don't know. You're able to get this publication from this show, and you can read it all the way through. That's what I'm going to recommend you do. Wolf found B'nai Israel at Pune, India, totally distinct from the Jews of Hindustan and Europe. They came from Arabia, had forgotten the Torah, repeated certain Hebrew prayers which they could not understand, and read the Pentateuch a little without knowing what it meant. Their Arabian ancestors may have never known much more. He also found other B'nai Israel at Bombay, about 1,000 families, entirely distinct from the Jews there. Dr. Grant found Nestorian Christians in Kurdistan who said they were B'nai Israel, but not Jews. Captain Bertram Dixon reports Jewish communities all through Kurdistan and sees no reason to doubt that they have been there since Sargon's deportation. Wolf found the 15,000 Bukhara Jews preferring to be known as B'nai Israel. He found Afghans who were not Jews, but who insisted on their descent from B'nai Israel. They had a long genealogical table which he published, tracing their descent through Kish, the father of Saul, clear back to Adam. At the present time, Sir T.H. Halditch reports the ruling Afghans calling themselves Durrani and B'nai Israel, but we are not Yehudi, which means they are Muslims, and that Yehudi is a sectarian term, not a racial one. Halditch found an Afghan ruler claiming that their hatred of the Yehudis dated from Rehoboam's time, and those of Hebraic face claim descent from Kish, all of which may be accepted without involving any notion of 10 lost tribes. Cardinal Mignon quotes another form of Afghan tradition that Jews of the tribe of Asher were founders of the Afghans, and that they moved thence down the Indus into India, whence the Jews in India today, from the mouth of the Indus down in the west coast, while Manasseh settled in the borders of China and Tartary, and 5 centuries later had spread all through Asia. This relates itself definitely to Jews still living in the mountains east and southeast of Afghanistan on the Indian frontier. Wolf reports upon the heights of Badakhshan, I can't get that, northeast of Kabul, the tribes of Naphtali, Dan, Zebulun, and Asher. Benjamin of Tudela heard of some tribes in the mountains of Nishapur, Persia. The Jews of Bukhara told Wolf that Naphtali and Zebulun lived in the Hindu Kush by brigandage, but they know the Shema Israel. They told him that the Jews in the Aral Mountains claimed to be of the tribe of Naphtali. The Bukhara Israel had once forgotten Torah themselves, till knowledge of it was revived among them in modern times by Joseph the Maghribi from Tutan, Morocco. In the time of Genghis Khan, many of them migrated. He Malabar Jews claiming that 10,000 of their ancestors left Palestine at the time of Titus' capture of Jerusalem and eventually reached India. They had no notion of descent from the Sargonic deportation. The Jews of Aden at the mouth of the Red Sea had been there from the time immemorial. Perhaps they were a commercial colony of Solomon's in the Queen of Sheba's ancient domain. Wolf thought that he had found the Rechabites in the B'nai Arahab of the Yemenite Jews. These Yemenite Jews curse the name of Ezra and will not give his name to any of their people. Their attitude suggests their origin at a definite stage in Hebrew history. Benjamin of Tudela thought Aden was the biblical Eden, whence Adamic Judaism originated. Such discoverers of Eden do not think it necessary to explain why later savage or semi-savage people are thought worthy to dwell in the land from which Adam was expelled. Now don't get lost here, people. This is not a curve. What he's doing is relaying what this individual, Mr. I believe Wolf, and the other individuals thought they found in Afghanistan and into the Eastern European areas, if you will. So I just want to make that. Some people got lost on how this began and thinking that it was telling everybody that everybody's a Jew. No. As you follow this book, it was written a while back, so you gotta follow along. It takes a while to understand and complete its thought, but let's continue. Contrasting with this sharp antagonism to Ezra, Wolf was told at Cairo that they had a manuscript Pentateuch written by Ezra, held so sacred that anathemas of the rabbis were hurled at everyone venturing to open the chest where it was kept. Another older manuscript at Malta near Cairo worked many miracles. On the other hand, among the Iranic Ossetes of Mount Caucasus, Elijah had become a fire god or storm god and is worshipped as Mar Ilya. These descendants of proselytized people have largely lost their Judaism. As you see, they complete the thought. Again, in Kiva, Wolf found people ostensibly Jews, yet claiming to be of ancient Canaanite history. Hivite, Perizzite, Jebusite, scorning other Jews and cursing Joshua in their prayers. Whence came this curious tradition? Were the leading features of Judaism developed in Palestine before the Israelite invasion? There is a similar antagonism in Abyssinia between Felashash and Kamans. In the Atlas Mountains of Morocco are ancient communities of Jews, totally distinct from the Spanish Jews of the lowland towns. They call themselves Phlistin or Philistim, the name we angelicize as Philistine. The community is very ancient. Tombs are shown that date near the beginning of the Christian era. They have a tradition that they came there after a capture of Jerusalem. Charles de Foucault first visited them. Augustine Bernard has described them at length. Still more striking is it that Berbers in the Gat Oasis, 800 miles south of Tunis and 2,000 miles west of the Nile, claim that they are Philistines who fled from Gath when it was destroyed. They accordingly named their new home Gath and view all Jews, whether Berber or Semitic, as their natural enemy. It is possible for people who had never been in Palestine to have learned so much history and to have claimed it as their own. Is it? Such modern Philistines give us more respect for the story of Procopius, that in his day still stood on the coast of Western North Africa with the inscription, "We are they who fled from Joshua, the robber, the son of Nun." Again, the Berber Jews that dwell in artificial subterranean excavations in southern Tunisia have some Hebrew books still and call themselves Phlistin. Grabert van Hemso in 1833, visiting the interior of Morocco, recognized different strata of Jewish migration and that the oldest was the Jewish element among the Amazigh Berbers in the Atlas Mountains. They call themselves Philistim. The Judaism of many Philistines in the Old Testament and their employment as royal gods and shrine attendants is to be remembered. It should be clear to anyone that we have traditions originating in different stages of Israelite development, in different epochs and from different events. Whether well-founded or not one of these has an apparent connection with the deportation of a few thousand Israelites by Sargon. As a group, they afford no support whatever for the theory of a lost 10 tribes. Benjamin of Tudela found a report from the Jews of Kibar so bitterly opposed to Muhammad were of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, the ancient Israelite district being the nearest to Geber and on the caravan road makes the claim very plausible. Brigandage has been a chief business of theirs since the days of David, the enlarger of Gad. Gad is a troop of plunderers. A troop of plunderers shall plunder him, but he shall plunder at the last. So translates Genesis 49:14. Benjamin of Tudela records Kabir brigandage David Rebani in 1524 came thence through Europe to Abyssinia, claiming to be a brother of Joseph, the king of Reuben, Gad, and a half Manasseh. E.N. Adler cites modern scholars who think the Anazar-Bedium are the descendants of this one-time powerful Kabar Israelite colony. Dozy thinks they have been there since the defeat of the Amalekite brigades by David in 1 Samuel 30. Benjamin of Judea was told by the Jews whom he met in Persia that the Israelites in the mountains of Neshpur were of the tribes of Dan, Zebulun, Asher, and Naphtali. We could think of them as deportees of Tiglath-Pileser. They were warlike, independent, living by brigadage. Such Israelites were very powerful in Khorasan till recent times. Records in the Armenian monastery at Kutayas are claimed to show that the whole Georgian region about Tiflis was dominantly Jewish till a few years ago. Many independent tribes calling themselves Jews existed in the Southern Caucasus up to the time of Russian domination. These few illustrations will suffice. We have no general reason to repudiate local traditions of Israelite ancestry, nor reason to think of all Jews as descendants of captives, least all to think that they're as descendants of the one little group deported by Sargon. This we have seen to be probably less than 1% of the total number of Hebrews deported during the centuries. We have seen claim upon claim to be survivors of Asher, Naphtali, Zebulun, Dan, Reuben, Gad, Manasseh, Joseph, Benjamin, and others. The cavalier dismissal by some scholars of all such traditions of local ancestry or descent is most surprising. It is like crediting a claim of American origin and rejecting the claim of Missourian or Californian or Virginian or Vermont ancestry. There is no a priori or inherent difficulty about preserving a tradition of an ancestry from some specific special district of Palestine. On the contrary, the probabilities are in favor of such reminiscences surviving. A people capable of keeping itself distinct in religion from others for 2,500 years and preserving accurate tradition of the land of its earlier religion must certainly have some district traditions that are entitled to respectful consideration. And it should be remembered that such traditions are originally hardly genealogical. Such name Asher being district names in Palestine before the advent of the Israelites. Semitic habits of speech would result in such local Israelites being known as sons of Asher or Gileadites, and so on. We must go further in this examination of traditions of Israelite ancestry. All may originate in historical facts, and yet the traditions be a perversion of the facts. We have to remember the ways of thought and the colloquial idioms of Oriental peoples. A relatively recent fact may result in a genealogical tradition reaching an initial point in the remote past. An excellent illustration is afforded by the modern Bukharan Jews. 95 years ago, Dr. Joseph Wolf found them about 10,000 in number, with favored Persian literature and various marks of immigration from Persia to Bukhara. At one time, they had lost nearly all their Judaism. But Joseph ben Moses Miamon from Tetuan, Morocco, known as Joseph Medgrebi, the Westerner, came among them and brought about a great revival, introducing Sephardic ritual from Italy. So Alan N. Elder found them claiming descent from the Spanish Jews driven from Spain in 1492 because Joseph Maghribi was of such descent. We see how a genealogical tradition may have its origin in the work of an outstanding personality, yet the fancy that all who follow him are his genealogical posterity or have the same ancestry may be baseless. Thus, hosts of self-styled modern Israelites may have no Israelite ancestor. Now, I want to pause there. That was a bit. But what it's saying, and I think most certainly, is that in the long run and how this is all shaking out, everybody has been in one way or another exposed to Judaism through either association, conquering, marriage, agreement, business deal. And so they took on all of the traits involving the worship of Israelites. And to me, it says a lot in how they tried to diffuse the true bloodline of the chosen. And again, I'm going to go ahead and stop there because I don't want my voice taken out. That's enough. I think we've gotten at least some of this into our system. I want to invite any of you that want a copy of this to simply ask. Use the Doug Rice Show at gmail.com. Of course, we'd much prefer that you use the links below and support this effort. I got to pay for this show somehow. But if you can, and if it's just not within your grasp, then for God's sake, take advantage of the free offer I offer. All right, well, look, it's 7:42. I think we had a great time together. What about you? Tomorrow, I'm going to have something different, something a little new for a Friday, just before we go into Sabbath. But let me say this, folks. You know, we read these things, and it's a privilege. It really is. It's a privilege held from Negroes for a length of time that has affected us to this very day. The inability to educate ourselves, for ourselves, with ourselves, amongst ourselves, and by ourselves, that's a recent opportunity. And so many of us are not taking full advantage of the ability to extract this information while it's still available and take it into your mind, mull it about, and understand. You may find it's time that we unwind all that we've learned from their kind. And I mean that. There is nothing of any benefit that Negroes have gotten from being in it. And that's this place. There's nothing. We've gotten nothing good from our punishment. We've gotten nothing good from our enslavement. Please do not go outside and let your feet hit the pavement with that kind of understanding, because that's why I'm reprimanding. No, this is the Doug Rice Show. And so I'm going to let you go. All right, folks, I got to go. 7:43 in the morning. I appreciate you guys joining me. And listen, you know how I send you out. I mean, you're about to go to work, no doubt. All of you are about to probably, go to the office. And it just wouldn't be right if I didn't send you on your way. It really wouldn't be right if I usually say, you got to be out there in these spaces. Do me a favor. Get that goddamned grin off your faces. Now you may go. It's the Doug Rice Show.